Alright, so this is going to be our first thing we need to do is just kind of set up our work area and get going. This is going to be a universal lecture, so other classes can use basically the same thing. On your D drive or wherever it is you're saving your work. Okay, if you're at the college, make sure you save it onto the D drives, not the desktop. I use the desktop here just because I don't have a D drive. If you're working at home, whatever, if you're working off a external drive, whatever. Okay, there's some area you're going to be saving your stuff. Like I said, not the desktop at the schools or the C drives. I'm saving to the C drives. So on the documents, start menu, documents at the school, or computer D drive at the school, there's a D drive. So you're going to make a new folder, last name underscore first name underscore F13. Okay, you can click the new folder button. You could right click and go to new and then go to folder, whatever. Okay, just make sure you have it labeled with your name and then the semester, fall 2013. Inside this folder, you're going to make one folder for the class. So in this case, I use the 2520. But if I was using 2540, I'd name it 2540 or 2550, 2550, whatever it is. And then inside that folder, you're going to have two folders. One's going to be source and one's going to be work. Okay. In the source folder, this is where you're going to be putting stuff that you're going to need for an assignment. Okay. So as an example, in the modeling class, we have these images of a Gillette can. Those images would go inside of this folder here because it's source stuff, and if you really lost this folder, it'd be no big deal because you could always get it back. You could even go further and organize this stuff by project. So as an example, in the modeling class, we have a Gillette can. We have other stuff too, but we also have lectures, so maybe we also have a lectures area, and maybe we have another new area that's whatever it is. Scripts that we downloaded that we want to save or maybe use. Okay, so we can organize it further, but that's going to just depend on the class. Alright, the other folder is your work folder, and in this case I have a default folder which has some stuff in here, and then it also has this Gillette Sarcona folder which is one of my projects that I'm working on for this class. Okay, so we'll get into that. So once you've created this folder structure, it's very important that you know where this is. And you want to make sure that at the end of the day, you make sure this thing is backed up. The system crashes, someone deletes it, whatever. You're responsible for it. Okay? So there's no unneeded tears. Just make sure this thing is backed up on another hard drive, your home computer. Back it up in several spots. That's the best thing you can do. Okay? Alright, so once you have that, let's just minimize that for now. We're going to go into Maya, but first what we want to do is go to your D drive and go to your Maya folder. Okay, so this is my documents, this is Maya, and your home computer is going to be in a different spot, but you can figure it out from there, wherever your documents is. If you're working on a Mac, you actually have to go through some big long thing. The best thing to do is just go to Firefox and just Google Maya project directory or Maya preferences on a Mac. And it'll show you the directory. So on here, I'm going to delete the 2014 folder. Okay, if you already have stuff that's set up at home, it's not a huge deal. But I just want to make sure everyone's starting at the same area. We don't have anything that's going to throw you for a loop. So here is the Maya 2014. I'm going to open that. If you're at the school, you can just click the Start menu and type in Maya 2014, and it'll pop open Maya 2014. So I'm going to create default preferences. The only reason it's asking me is because I have other versions here that it may want to use, so I just said don't use that. Alright, so Maya 2014. It has this, which is a new feature highlight thing, which you can see here it's highlighting all my new features in this green. That's fine, I can keep that on, but I don't want to show this box at the startup, so I'm just going to say show it startup off. Same thing with this. If you've forgotten how to create and view objects, how to zoom or pan, how to move, how to select objects, how to reshape, whatever, you can keep this window up or watch these movies. Close that. I don't need it. I think I'm a little bit past that. Alright, so we're going to go to our preferences inside Maya. So next to the key is this little preference guy. And you can also get to it from going to Window, Settings, Preferences, and Preferences. That's another way to get to it. Same exact thing. Okay, so we're going to start at the top and work our way down. Okay, here is the highlight color of those little boxes. It's green. So I could obviously make this a different color if I wanted to, make it, there we go, orange, and now it's orange. Green is a good color just because it's very visible. Or I could turn this thing off. Mouse scroll wheel is enabled. Try to avoid using the mouse scroll wheel at all costs. It's kind of annoying. Check it off if you think you're going to be tempted. The view cube, which is right here, I'm going to turn that off. I don't really care for this thing here. It's really annoying, so I'm turning that off. What else do we have? We have the help stuff here, which if you're not familiar with the help stuff, if I hover my mouse over some of these menu buttons, and I may not really do it while I have the preferences open, but it'll give me a little pop-up that'll say, this is what this tool is going to do. So you can turn that off or change the time that it does that right there. Here's some other settings. It's always good to kind of go through these every once in a while and just see maybe there's something else that may help you just become a little bit more comfortable with working with it. Because a lot of these things are just, I've been working in it so long that it's just comfortable for me to use these settings, but sometimes you find something you want to change. For the settings here, if you're working in the 2520 class, keep this at 24 frames per second. If you're working in the dynamics class or you're working in the animation class, change this to NTSC 30. The only reason we're doing that, it gives us a couple extra frames to play with our stuff. Okay. Let's see. Animation. It's fine. Assets. You can go here. This is kind of a neat thing you can do. If you go to File and Projects, you can set the default project directory to, if I click this folder, instead of it being in my username, my documents, my projects, I can go to my D drive or wherever it is, and I can say I want you to start in my work folder of 2520. So I say open, and now if I were to create a new project, it'll automatically default to that. This isn't necessary. I'm just going to delete it, but it's a neat thing to have, especially if you want to keep your stuff located in another area. Recent history size, you can keep this to. Autosave, this is a neat feature. If you enable this, Maya will automatically save your work every 10 minutes. Okay, so if you're working for 3 hours, which has happened before, and your system crashes, which has happened before, you don't lose anything because it's been saving. With the student version, you have to be careful because you'll get that pop-up box. So you have to make sure that you're there every 10 minutes to just make sure you hit it. Okay, so you can enable this or disable it. Ideally, I should have it on. Everyone should have it on, but I'm just going to leave it off. Actually, I'll leave it on. But I'll go every 15 minutes. There we go. Nothing fancy here. Here's ignore version. This is something, if you're working in my 2014 in one location, in 2012 in another location, or 2013, you could say ignore version on your 2012 version, and that way when you open it up, it'll automatically ignore it. But there's other ways to do that, so you don't really need this. Nothing too terribly ridiculous to play with. Time slider, there we go. Maximum playback speed, we want this set to real time. Leave playback speed set to play reframe, and then max playback speed set to real time. At some point we may adjust these things, but we want to leave it at this for now. Okay, play reframe, real time. Undos, this is something that I mention every semester. You may want this set to 100, you may want it set to 200. I definitely wouldn't set it to infinite. Okay, leave it at finite. It's weird that infinite and then finite. It's like you say two different words. Anyway, queue size is 50 for me. That's fine for me. Like I said, you can adjust it. Here's some information about my video card. You can play with some of these settings if you were to get advanced features happening. And that's it. Okay, that's all the settings we really need to worry about. So I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to go to here, up here at the top left. This little arrow, I'm going to say new shelf. And I just want to give myself a new shelf. I'm going to call it Sarcona. Okay, that way I know that if my preferences are loaded, my shelf is loaded here. My preferences aren't loaded, then it's going to be someone else's shelf. So we're going to hold down the Control and Shift keys, or on a Mac I believe that's Command and Shift. It might also be Control and Shift, so you just have to test it and see. create, Control Shift. I'm going to go to Window, Outliner, and you see how it pops the outliner up right there. I'm going to go to Window, General Editor's Hypershade. I'm going to go to Edit, Delete by Type History. I'm going to go to Modify Center Pivot. And all this is doing is just adding these little 4 shortcuts right to my shelf. Okay. If I accidentally added too many, I can middle click and drag all the way to the trash, and then just re-add that by holding Control Shift and go to Modify Center Pivot, and there it is. Okay. Under Create, I'm going to go to NURBS Primitives, Interactive Creation Off, Create Polygon Primitives, Interactive Creation Off. It's an annoying thing. Turn it off. Alright, so that's basically it for our settings. Just a little primer while we're in here of some of the tools, just in case you've forgotten everything. We have in polygon mode, we have 1, 2, or 3 is going to choose the smoothing. Let me create an object that can be smoothed a little easier. 1 is what you see is what you get. 2 is smooth and rough, and 3 is smooth. Okay. 4 is wireframe, which is what we're in. 5 is shaded. 6 is textures. 7 is lighting, and 8 is paint effects. If we accidentally hit 8, we just hit 8 to get out of there. Okay, and then we can click on our select tool. Alright. To tumble around, we hold Alt and left click and drag. To zoom, we hold Alt and right click and drag. And notice how I'm clicking and dragging left and right, not up and down. Doesn't have the same effect. Okay, left and right, not up and down. Alt and middle mouse button allows me to track my object around. Okay, it's not really moving the object, it's moving the camera that we're looking through. Okay, so Alt left, Alt middle, Alt right. Alright, so then we have Q key to select things. Let's go back to shaded mode so we can see that. W key to move things. As a point that I'm going to probably have to say a million times, do not click on this yellow box. The yellow box is moving it basically parallel to the camera, or perpendicular to the camera, depending on how you want to look at it. It doesn't move it in one solid axis. Until you're comfortable with it and how it's going to work, just grab the arrows. And you see how the arrows are highlighting? I can see which direction I'm moving it in. Okay, that's the way to do it. If you go to, that's W for move. You go to E, that's the rotate. Same rule applies. You see this yellow box or yellow circle around it? That's rotating it in line with the camera. And you see that all the axes go crazy when we do that, and that can cause errors. Not errors, but stupid stuff to happen that you don't want. So make sure you click and drag on an axis. On an axis. On an axis. Okay? And then lastly we have scale, which is R. So this one is the exception. You may want to grab the middle one and scale it in all 3 directions. Or you may want to grab just the blue, or you may want to grab just the red, or you may want to grab just the green. Okay? So Q, select, W, move, E, rotate, R, scale. Okay? I'm not going to say those again, seeing as how this is a higher level class. You should have those done, or have those under your belt pretty good. And if not, just keep going through them and eventually you will get to them. Alright, so we have our preferences set here. We have our stuff set here. Good. I'm going to expand these. I don't know why these guys get kind of like collapsed. There we go. Okay, so now this bar is stretched out, which is what I want. I'm going to go to my render settings, which is here, this little, not the render settings, sorry. The render view, which is this blue and white one. And under display, I'm just going to make sure this is set to 32-bit, which it is. Under color management, I'm just going to leave this as sRGB for now. Those are fine. Okay, so I can close Maya. Don't save. Do I want to save my paint effects? No. Okay. So now what I've done is I've changed some of my Maya settings. So now this 2014 that's right here is my updated preferences. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my folder on the D drive, and I'm just going to copy by holding the Control key and dragging my 2014 in here. Okay? And then I can delete the 2014 from inside that folder. Okay? So here's my folder. If it's the end of the day, I want to take this folder and drop it onto a thumb drive, drop it onto another computer, drop it onto something else, at least so I have it in 2 spots. Ideally, I want to have it in at least 3 spots in case one of the spots goes bananas. Also note that if you're on a Mac, and just to give you an example of this, let's pretend that I have a folder out here called Stuff, and I have a folder in here called Stuff. There we go. And I'll just borrow these icons. Okay. If I have these icons here, on a PC, if I were to copy this folder, which is empty, onto my desktop, it says, do you want to merge? And I would say yes. Okay, so now if I open this folder, all my stuff is here. On a Mac, it will not do that. If this folder is empty, and I say I want to copy it, it doesn't say merge, it says do you want to replace. So what a Mac would do is actually delete this folder that has stuff in it that I want, and then replace it with this folder. So be very careful on a Mac of how you copy your stuff. Make sure you're always copying from the most recent to the oldest. Okay, that way you don't lose your stuff on accident. And I can delete that because I don't need it. My recycle bin, keep everything nice and neat. Okay, so we're backing up this folder. So now let's fast forward to the next time you're working in Maya. So you want to come into your folder. Here's the 2014 folder. Here's our Maya folder. I want to copy this, so I hold the Control key, that's a copier, and I bring it into this area. And now it copies my preferences in here. When I open Maya, it's going to have all those preferences loaded, and I'm good to go. At the end of the day, I want to take these preferences and copy them back. I'm just saying yes, copy and replace all the stuff that I have in there. Okay? So every day you come in, copy your preferences into the folder. Every day you leave, copy your preferences out. And every day you leave, make sure you're backing up your folder here. Now, if you're comfortable with it, you can actually go into the exact folder you need, or the exact folder you're working on, and only back up the 1 or 2 files that you need to back up to. Okay? You don't need to back up everything if you only have 1 file that you change the entire time. Okay? Otherwise, if you're not comfortable doing that, just make sure you back the whole thing up. You could even do this if you're not super duper comfortable and you have lots of storage, as you can just underscore VO1, and then the next time you work on something, you copy that back and it'll be VO2, and then VO3, and then VO4. I'm comfortable, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay? So that'll give you a gist of what you're going to be doing as far as your setting up of Maya, getting your preferences in order, and then being able to copy your stuff to and from your device.